We want to jump right into our second segment, which is the top 3 mistakes of new agents. So you just get your license, and there's these 3 things you want to avoid doing. So if you think about that right now, what do you think those are as a new agent? Or as an agent, you can be a seasoned agent and say, what are the top 3 things I need to avoid? I know that if I asked Matt Gorham, Dave Batty, those guys, they would know.
Absolutely.
And they might not say the same 3 things, but they'd all be around the same thing. So let's go. This isn't in any particular order, because I don't know which one's the most important, to be honest.
I really think they're all equally important.
There's one that I guess I would give the edge to. I know if Diana Kokoska was here, which one she would say. She would give the edge to. So we're going to start with that one. Failing to prospect. If you do not understand that you need to get people to use you, you're a product now. If you don't get that you need people to buy your product and that you actively are going to search for those people, you're in trouble. It's going to be tough. And that looks like 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, on the phone, writing letters. Let's just say in this, I'm not saying 2 hours of each. 2 hours you block off 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. You call people. You send emails. You write letters.
Text messages, stop-bys, or pop-bys.
Yep. Yeah, door knock. These are things you do every single day. Because no matter how good or bad you are at it, it'll be impossible for you not to get business if you prospect 2 hours a day. The best, if we go look at Dave Batty, he's going to be in the prospecting room. Yesterday, I interrupted him. Sign on his door saying, "Don't knock on the door, I'm prospecting." I knocked. Sorry.
I hope it was important.
But it wasn't.
Jeff. Sorry, Dave.
But so even though they're doing $30 million in volumes, or people are doing $60 million in volume, you hear about Bob Lucido, who his team does $1.2 billion in volume. He still takes a listing or 2 listing appointments every day. You just, I'm not saying you have to do that to that level. You don't have to want to sell $1 billion in volume, but you have to dedicate to prospecting. Agreed, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so if your goal is to have 12 transactions in a year and you prospect 2 hours a day and you knock those guys out in 3 months and you're happy and your goal's met, take the rest of the year off. But we certainly see, we certainly encourage people to set lofty goals, and then once you achieve them, don't stop, keep going. Because as we see, when someone has a really great quarter, they typically stop lead genning because the business is great, they have production, the commission checks are coming in, it feels awesome, and then next quarter you have no business because you did not lead generate while you were working on your transactions. You're working with your buyers, working with your sellers. You have to keep the lead gen momentum up, even in the midst of being busy.
Yep. It's the most important thing.
Absolutely.
So that's number one. That's the number one mistake you can make, is failing to prospect.
Yes.
And I think that is the right word. It's not quitting to prospect. It's failing. You're not doing it.
You're not
prospecting, I guess. Okay. Number 2, I think some people would argue this. Even I would argue this because I have created businesses and not had a real formal business plan. But I would say that another mistake, the second mistake, is not having a business plan. The caveat here is to sit around and make a business plan forever. In the real estate world, I'm not saying if you're trying to create a new software program or launch some huge product, but you're launching you need to have a plan of, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to spend, this is how my day is allocated. These are my goals. This is what I'm going to spend on sales and marketing. This is how much cash I have. Like all these things, you just need to have a plan. You don't just want to go in and say, I don't know, I'm going to talk to friends. Like it's too stressful. It's too stressful. And you can go to pretty much any brokerage, I would think, and say, help me with my business plan. And they'll go help you. I mean, Keller Williams does an incredible job with this stuff, where they sit you down and say, here's how to plan and achieve your goals.
Yeah.
So just make a plan of what you're going to do. Right?
Yeah.
We're on there. You agree with that, right?
Completely. I mean, we have systems and models in place that people can apply to have a plan. That way they don't have to recreate the wheel or get creative. Just hit the ground running and use this plan. Or you can absolutely come in and create a plan based on what you want it to be. But are you going to follow through with it? That's the difference here. Are you going to create the plan and you're actually going to stick to it? Are you going to create the plan or leverage a plan that's already been done and have it and kind of use it, but not really? And so that's where we see quite a few agents, not just new agents, but experienced agents as well, where most likely if they had a quarter they're down, or if, several months where they're just not doing their best from a production standpoint, it's most likely because they didn't review and stick to their business plan. And in that is so many hours of lead gen, time blocking, how much they're spending versus how much they're making. I mean, there's a lot that goes into a business plan.
Fail to plan, plan to fail.
Yeah.
It just goes in that.
That's exactly
so
it.
I think we hammer that home. Make a plan. It doesn't take, if you're spending a month making a plan, you spent too long. If you're spending more than a week or two, you've probably spent too long. You should be able to codify everything you're going to do in a short amount of time and get some help. Heck, we'd help you.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So,
if you need support with your business plan, this is what we do. We help agents of all experience, whether brand new agents that are in the coaching program or agents that have been doing it several years or some of the top agents in the area. We support them in creating a business plan. And we are not recreating the wheel. We are not people that are sitting down going, oh, I have this idea that no one's done. No, the difference is that we're writing it down. You are choosing what capacity you want it to be at. If you want so many transactions, let's, up the ante on lead gen. If family time is really important to you and you have, young children, then we're going to time block that out. So it's going to look different for everyone, but it's pretty much the same stuff, right?
It is.
And then it's a matter of who's going to be the one that actually sticks to it.
You got to do it.
Because the top people are the ones that are consistent and they stick to it. It's not easy, but it's simple. So a lot of times agents are overcomplicating things, especially new ones, because they get excited. They're like, I don't need a lead gen because I'm going to go pop by and see this person and then have coffee with them. Maybe it'll bring me business. Next thing you know, 5 hours has passed. You've done no lead generation and you didn't get any business.
People love to skip that whole thing. So.
Absolutely.
No, I like it. I was about to say again, recreate the wheel, and then it made me think, how many people have recreated the wheel?
I see them try to.
Do they try?
Yeah.
Have people tried to recreate the wheel?
The actual wheel?
The wheel.
The round wheel? Yeah. That's why we see
the square wheel.
No.
You said the round wheel.
Huh?
You said the round wheel? Is there a different type?
No, that's why I'm asking. Are you being literal?
Yeah,
because I've seen those 3-wheeled motorcycles, and then there's whatever they're called.
But that's not recreating the wheel. That's
I think
creating
it's
a number
people
of
getting
wheels.
weird with wheels. Don't get weird with the wheels.
That's our next podcast, Weird with Wheels.
Just don't.
Okay. So, nor shall we recreate one.
No.
Okay. The last one, see, it's funny because if I was talking with my old business partner, John, he would probably say this is the most important. Manage expenses. So I created Tectonics with John Keyburn and Dan Heckman in 2005, still running today. That always makes me proud. John he just has a very simple philosophy, which is we're going to spend less than we make. And we'll never go out of business. And it's funny because that isn't, like you said, not complex. It's really, really simple.
It is.
You just decide that you're going to run a business the way a business could run. He also says, listen, if you want to lose weight, it's really, really simple. Find out how much your body burns and eat less than that. How many calories does your body burn? And eat less than that. And you'll lose weight. Eat the same amount, you'll maintain weight. Eat more, you'll gain weight. Yeah. It's just that simple. And so I think when you accept the simplicity of it, it takes a little bit of stress away from it. I am going to make a certain amount of money. I'm going to do a certain amount of work to make a certain amount of money, and I'm going to spend less than that so that I don't have to have stress. We literally were in Bold 2 days ago, and someone stood up and said in their first year, they made $330,000. Think of it now. I want you to think about that for a second. Think about how your life would be different if you had $330,000. Yeah. Do you know how much money he had at the end of the year? Negative $70,000. He didn't know that he had to pay taxes. So at the end of the year, he had negative $70,000, and he said it took him 2 years to pay off those taxes. So he went from making a life by design to not understanding about managing expenses, then took away 2 years of God knows what that he could have done. And
he said he had to keep putting in. So in that year that he put in as much work as he did, killing himself to do as well as he did financially, to find out that he didn't do as great as he thought because he owed money to the IRS, and then in turn to have to work just as hard, if not harder, the next 2 years to pay back the IRS. I mean, imagine that feeling of defeat when you are working so hard. And then he was so vulnerable to say that he owns a business and he has to go to them and say, I want to go have lunch with you. I want to go do this. Let's get people excited about work. knowing that he has no money, and he owes money. And yet he's known as one of the top producers and just an incredible person. And he has this feeling, this internal awful feeling, which I'm sure many of us have felt, is we have to go on functioning, but we know inside that we're barely making it. Yeah. And so that feeling of defeat after such a year of financial success is unreal.
Right. So think about it. He could have been a casualty. He could have been one because even though he made $330,000, he could have been in that 87%.
Oh, yeah.
So managing expenses, and we don't have time to get through all this, but I'm going to give you a simple rule of thumb. When you get a paycheck from your broker, you have to take 50% of it and put it in an account to pay expenses,
50%.
Taxes and expenses, at a minimum. It might be 60%. It might be 70% when you're starting off. That's how much you have to put away. So when you get the check for $7,000, you have to accept immediately it's a check for $3,500. If you don't do that, you're going to have your managing expenses problem. If you take that check for $7,000 and take $3,500 and put it away in the bank, by the end of the year, you will be a business owner.
Well, really, let's be honest. We shouldn't get to the end of the year. It should be quarterly.
Sure.
I mean, if it makes it to the end of the year, then you really need to focus on quarterly, because most people that are managing their taxes just annually, it's a challenge. So you could certainly follow that 50% rule. Even more so, though, we hear people encouraging it to be done quarterly. And then that way it's not as much of a concern or as much of a shock or anything like that. But this is a piece of being an entrepreneur. If you want that lifestyle of being your own boss, being in control of your life completely, then a part of that is you have to be in control of your finances. You don't just get to go out and do what you do on a daily basis on your own schedule, because at the end of the day, we still have to report to the government, and you have to pay the IRS. So, well, I guess you don't have to, but it's a matter of time until they find you.
Unless you want to be Wesley Snipes or...
that gets weird. So
Passenger 57.
Oh, geez.
What, I'm a Wesley Snipes fan.
Yeah.
Except is he even in jail? I don't even know. When you have that much money, I think you go to jail, then you get out of jail, and then you... Martha Stewart went to jail. Where am I going with this? No. It had to be the prettiest jail cell.
No, it had to have been. I bet she decorated it. It's so nice.
Fabulous.
She probably has a line coming out at Target. Martha Stewart's Sell by Design.
That
should make a killing off that.
I like the whoop.
Thanks.
That was good. Okay. So
love you, Martha. Love you, Target.
Love you, Martha. Yeah, love Target. Failing to prospect. So top 3 mistakes. Failing to prospect. And I'm going to say it different. I got to use the word failing because I keep saying the word failing is a positive word, so I don't want to use it negatively.
Right.
Not prospecting.
Choosing to not doing it.
Yeah, you can go ahead and fail at prospecting. Just keep doing it.
Also, if you prospect and you do not get a yes, you did not fail. Since we're using the word fail, right? So if you prospect for 2 hours and you had 30 contacts, which means you spoke to 30 people, not made 30 calls, spoke to 30 people. And of those 30 people, you got no appointments. That is okay. You did not fail. So,
or you failed forward.
You failed forward.
Right.
Yes. So if you got on the phone with them and you didn't, go over your scripts and you weren't prepared, that's a different story, of course. But if there's plenty of times I've had days where I feel like I've been spot on and people are wanting to talk to me, but I didn't get an appointment made. So we're encouraged to count our no's rather than our yeses, right? Because if you get a yes in 10 minutes, most likely you're going to stop prospecting. Got my listing appointment, I'm good. Wanted one for today, I'm set. No, keep prospecting. Count your no's rather than your yeses. And if you only get no's for that day, get back out there in the afternoon, change it up, but don't view it as failing. Just if you choose to not prospect, you are choosing that day to not be a business owner.
Right. Amen. Amen.
Your doors are closed.
No business plan. Fail to plan, plan to fail. It's that simple. Again, find someone who will help you with a business plan. There's tons of people out there.
Or buy the MREA.
Yes.
Said it way too fast. So the MREA supports with business plans. Ask us, buy the book. There are people that will support you with a business plan.
I went all marine on you right there because the MRE is the meal ready to eat, that thing that comes the worst thing you'll ever eat.
Yeah.
That you need to pour water on so that it hydrates. So you can eat.
There's nothing like...
Don't buy them.
A steak that it looks like...
A dried steak?
Yeah, there's nothing like a steak in a bag that's like dried up powder and then you pour the water in. It's like perfect medium rare and steaming hot.
What are you doing? Why are you eating MREs? Did your brother Jason bring them home?
No.
Jason, don't be feeding her MREs, okay?
I've had those... the astronaut ice cream.
That's in there too.
That's cool.
Oh yeah, it's like a sponge.
Yeah, it's really neat.
It tastes awesome.
You really like it.
I loved it, but it will dry you. I'm not going to get into some details here, but it will take all the water out of your body.
Oh.
Or into your. It dries you out.
Out and.
So, yeah, whatever. Also advice.
MREA.
If you're eating mass ice cream, drink water. Bonus
Put
advice.
that in your business plan.
Yeah. Then lastly, manage expenses. Just you have to. You have to.
Yes.
In fact, if you're not good at it, I don't even actually want to hear you say that. If you're not good at it, you need to find someone who's good at it, or you need to set up a plan where you just spend your money the appropriate way. When you get a check for $7,000 from your broker, you didn't get a check for $7,000.
Nope.
You got a check for $3,500. It's not even a choice. So you just see it that way, and that way you can pay all your bills, or else you'll be out of business. So nobody wants that.
No, you're doing yourself a favor. I know, especially if you have your spouse or your family, or you have goals for what you're going to do with this money, and you get your first check, and say it's $10,000, and you're so excited. It's okay to be excited. It's okay to celebrate. Just be realistic with where that money's going. And also, another reason why a lot of people have a hard time managing finances or managing expenses, it's because there are wonderful salespeople out there. So when you have a CRM, your database for your contacts, and it's a free one, and it's kind of clunky, but it works, and next thing you know, you're getting blown up your phone and emails with all these CRMs that are so much better, and it's only $200 a month. Their job is to tell you it's only $200 a month. Mm-hmm. It's just like the magazines that can promote you as an agent. The different marketing materials, it's high gloss rather than matte. These things, their job is to tell you that you need these things to be successful. Manage your expenses. Don't get distracted. Don't get too creative. Keep it simple. I assure you that if someone gets a flyer in the mail and it is matte versus high gloss, it most likely will not impact your likelihood of getting that listing or getting that buyer. So just keep that in mind when you're managing these expenses. Keep it simple.
And so that brings us into, and we may need to take some time to really expound on this, but the bonus to this too is branding yourself and how you see yourself.
Yeah.
And how you portray yourself to everyone else. It's obviously not a top 3 mistake, but it's this last thing of how you show yourself to everyone means how they will see you and how they will reference you. And it's just one of those things of, if you just print up a business card and you're just quick and dirty about it and you don't think about this whole thing. I mean, we created this show. We're not trying to make any money off of this show, but we created a logo. Yeah. And so why did we create a logo? Because how we present ourselves, we want it to be as clean and crisp and consistent as possible. And a logo shows that it shows we're putting an effort towards you, our users, to understanding what we're doing and just how we see it, right?
Yes.
And so if the logo was just something I drew, you'd be like, man, they really don't care about it. But it's something we took the time and we made an investment into to show how we feel about our company. I guess I don't have anything beyond that except that it's like it matters. So I mean, you're huge into like the set. If I would have set up this set, it would have been awful. But you understood how the set needs to look. I mean, so talk to me about branding.
I am a big believer in, if you're going to do something, do it in a way that if you look back on it many years later, you're proud of what you did. Now, we may look back on this in many years and I'm like, oh God, why did I wear that? Or that painting was not a good choice. But from a standpoint of the effort that's put in is we are not just, bantering and bringing this to you guys just on a whim. There's effort that goes into this. And so with that being said, if we have the set done in a certain way and we have a logo that represents us, then people, hopefully, when they watch this, they'll realize that we're putting effort into bringing you this information. We didn't just decide one day, well, we're just going to turn on the phone and start talking and see if people like it. It's more so we have information to share. We know we can help people, even if it's just one a day. And so our intention with this is to do so, but we don't want distractions. When people come to us, we want to make sure that they know that they can just focus on what we're saying and the information we're sharing. So if the place that we're sitting is disheveled or distracting, they're not able to focus on our intention, which is supporting them. Mm-hmm. And then the same thing with the logo. If we do not have one, then we're really doing ourselves a disservice because we don't have something that represents our intention of what we're doing. So plenty of times people, will just scroll through Facebook and then something catches their eye. So if what catches their eye is our logo, then they immediately, most likely know that we are two individuals that we have created something and we
Right.
take it seriously, and there's pride in it, but there's also planning in it.
Right.
And so when they take time to visit our site, there's planning in that as well. And so it's making sure that people know that we're a resource, that we take your time seriously. So if you're going to come to us for an hour and watch our podcast, we respect that so much so that the least we can do is show you that we've planned, we've prepared, and we're ready for anything that's coming
Right.
our way.
I mean, there's 1.4 million realtors out there. You have to compete with that.
Yes.
I don't know how many podcasts are out there, but I'm guessing
There's a
God
lot.
knows how many. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
global market
It
in
is.
podcasts.
Yeah.
So you're going to choose to listen to or watch our show. There's lights behind there. There's things that we're doing to make this look as good as we can within our budget.
Yes.
We have our
Oh,
budget
yeah.
for this thing. So
Yes.
you have your budget, and you want to think about, how am I going to brand myself? I heard this great advice, which is, you're doing it right when your friends say, oh, it's not Cristen, the great cook, or Cristen, my friend, or Cristen, the wonderful singer. It's Cristen, the realtor. When your friends start saying, oh, that's Cristen, she's a realtor. Oh, that's Joe, he's a realtor. That means that you've branded yourself in a way where people now associate that with you.
Mm-hmm.
And that is everything. That's everything from your logo to how you dress to when you show up. Diana
Yes.
Kokoska would talk about how one of her calling cards, check this out, because this might be hard for you to do, it was to be on time. She said most people just aren't on time. Realtors
Right.
show up late.
Yep.
So if you want to be better than your competition, the 1.4 million of them, showing up on time is literally something you could do to differentiate yourself.
Absolutely.
That, is nuts. So, but that's your brand. That when you brand yourself as someone who's always on time, that's part of your brand.
Well, it has to start with your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? It doesn't matter what industry you're in. Why are you doing what you're doing today? If you don't have a reason as to why you're doing it other than collecting a paycheck, reevaluate what you should do or what you'd like to do. Because you only have one shot at this life. And so make sure that you're in a place where you feel fulfilled and you're getting the success you want. Watch episode 5 to understand what I mean by success. It has nothing to do with finances. It has everything to do with these 6 circles. So go back and watch episode 5. So what does success look like to you? And so if your why is developed, if you've designated why you're doing what you're doing, you have your purpose, then everything you do has to spawn out from that. So if you don't take time to get up and get dressed and you're 10 minutes late, then clearly your why isn't defined. Because if your why is supporting your family and having your children be proud of you, then should you show up late, should you be disheveled and unprepared? And so you have to make sure everything you're doing spawns out from that why. And it needs to be a powerful enough why that you care enough to be on time.
You're awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're awesome. I loved everything you
You're
said about that. No, you just were, I was a fan right there just listening. It's true.
Thank you.
And we talk about our why all the time. I'm very
do.
lucky to have the best who. So, all right. Well, this is one of those things I would love to dive in deeper.
Yeah.
So we'll have to talk with some people about, because branding is so huge.
It is.
I don't know if people would want to hear about like a walkthrough about how to create your brand in the beginning, but tell us things you're interested in. But
Yes.
I think from what Kristen's saying too is you have to determine why you're doing it, is what you
Yes.
just said, and then how that's going to look,
Yes.
and then you'll probably figure it out.
Because
Okay.
you have to think of it as the only thing a person sees of you, your business, and your intention is your logo. What is it telling them, right? And if the only thing a person sees is when you show up, that initial glance at you, what are you representing? What are you showing? And is it go back to your why? Is it going back to your intention of what you're doing and how you want to be? You have to go back to that all the time. It doesn't mean that if you're late one time that you've ruined your business. But we have to always think of things in single glances and fleeting moments of, I just saw that logo. Was it a representation of me and my brand? I just saw that podcast. Was it a representation? Those different examples. So just something to think about.
You're a rock star. Always.
Thank
And